It began innocently. A medical curiosity. A single test. At the university's lab, Nora requested a genetic analysis under a pseudonym. She wanted to confirm whether the hormonal treatments her parents had approved years ago could have altered her genome in measurable ways. The lab technician smiled politely. "We'll send the results to your private inbox within 10 days. But 3 days later, Nora received an email marked urgent, abnormal sequence detected. When she opened the file, the header read, "Subject DNA partially matches archived biomedical data from the Richview Behavioral Institute, Series E.V.E-00. Her blood wasn't unique. It was linked. Panicked, Nora traced the email's IP address. It didn't come from the university. It came from Briarwell Laboratories, one of the same schools listed in the Project EVE documents. That night, she drove 3 hours north, headlights cutting through the fog, heart pounding. Briarwell's campus was deserted, its gates chained shut after the scandal. But one building still had power, the genetics wing. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed weakly over rows of sealed freezers. Each was labeled with serial numbers and initials. When she wiped the frost off one window, she froze. The tag read, "EVE, clone set Q1, Q5. She forced the latch open, breath shaking. 5 vials. 5 distinct DNA samples. And one of them, marked Q1, was a perfect match to her own blood type. She wasn't just a blueprint. She was copied. A sound behind her, footsteps. She turned, ready to run, and stopped dead. Standing in the doorway was a young woman. Same height. Same face. Same nervous half-smile. "Don't scream," the girl whispered. "You'll wake them." Nora's voice broke. "Who are you?" "I don't know," the girl said. "They call me Quinn." Nora staggered back. "You're version Q2, the girl finished softly. "I'm what came after you." Nora stared, tears forming. "How long have you been here?" 2 years, the girl said. "They said you were a success. They said if I followed your pattern, I'd feel whole." She hesitated. "Do you feel whole?" The girl's eyes filled with tears. "No. I feel borrowed." They sat in the dark lab surrounded by freezers and hums of machines. "I thought about destroying Project EVE would end everything," Nora whispered. "It can't end," Q2 said. "You can't erase an idea. They still have the formula. The neural conditioning scripts. The psychological triggers. Then help me stop it." The girl hesitated. "You don't understand. They need you. Without you, the data collapses. You're the origin model. Every subject after you deteriorates. Emotional instability, identity fragmentation, it all spirals without your baseline." Nora shook her head. "So what? They think they can fix that by cloning me?" Q2 looked at her with raw fear. "Not fixed. Replace." Security alarms blared. Red lights pulsed across the walls. "They know you're here," Q2 said urgently. "You have to go." "No," Nora said. "You're coming with me." But as they ran for the exit, Nora saw something that stopped her cold, rows of pods lining the basement corridor, each glowing faintly. Inside each one floated a figure, indistinct but human-shaped. The tags read, EVEQ3, incomplete EVEQ4, cognitive error EVEQ5, terminated. Her stomach turned. She looked at Q2. "They're building replacements, for me." Q2 nodded, trembling. "And now that you've come back, they'll want an upgrade." Before Nora could respond, a voice echoed through the hallway, calm, clinical, amplified by speakers. "Nora Quinn. Subject Q1. Please return to containment. The experiment is ready for phase 3. It was her father's voice. She froze. He's dead. Q2's whisper came like a ghost. Not his mind. They burst into the control room, sirens wailing. On the main screen, an AI interface flickered to life, Dr. Richard Quinn Neural Simulation version 3.4. A synthetic version of her father. Digital immortality coded into the project that had stolen her life. You see, Nora, the voice said gently, evolution doesn't end with you. It begins again. She slammed the keyboard, tearing cables, sparks flying. You don't get to define evolution anymore. The system glitched, the voice fragmenting. You are the key. The lights died. Q2 pulled her toward the exit. He's still in the network. He's everywhere the Foundation had access to. You can't kill code. Nora looked back at the flickering monitor. Then I'll rewrite it. They escaped into the storm, the facility collapsing behind them in showers of glass and lightning. Days later, news broke, massive data breach at Briarwell Institute, confidential research destroyed. Authorities called it sabotage. Only one photo from the wreckage made it to the press, two silhouettes in the rain, holding hands, walking away from burning ruins. No names. No confirmation. Just a headline. The Eve Protocol, who were they trying to create? Nora watched from a cafe, hood pulled low. Q2 sat across from her, sipping tea with shaky hands. What now? The girl asked. Nora looked out at the rain. Now we find the others. Before the project does. Her phone buzzed, another anonymous message. You destroyed the lab. But the code is already online. Attached was a file, Eve_V 4.0, uploaded to the global academic cloud. Nora exhaled slowly. Then the real fight, she said, has just begun. Weeks had passed since the night Nora and Q2 escaped the burning Briarwell facility. But the fire didn't stop the spread. The EVE protocol, her father's stolen code, had gone online. Not leaked to governments or scientists, but to the public. Hackers. Universities. Private research circles. The files were multiplying across the dark web, replicated, modified, renamed. Everywhere, people were experimenting with self-reprogramming neural scripts designed to unlock identity potential. And it all began with her genome. The headlines were impossible to ignore. Project EVE, can identity be engineered? The girl who became code. Nora had become an idea, and ideas couldn't be contained. Nora and Q2 relocated to a quiet seaside town under assumed names. For a while, peace returned. Then one morning, Q2 found something online, an influencer going viral for her EVE transformation challenge. The girl's face was eerily familiar. Same bone structure. Same smile. Nora stared at the screen, whispering, "That's me." Q2 scrolled. There are hundreds of them. People are copying the code, the appearance templates, the behavioral matrices. They're calling themselves Eves. Within weeks, the Eve movement exploded across social media, marketed as self-reinvention technology. But Nora saw what no one else did. Every post, every filter, every algorithmic expression carried fragments of her consciousness. Literal data, echoes from the neural imprint taken from her father's digital copy. Her soul had become open source. When Nora traced the origin of the viral movement, one name kept appearing, Dr. Torrin Vale, a charismatic neuroscientist turned entrepreneur. He claimed to have decoded the future of identity. In his live streams, he wore a white coat and spoke softly, almost lovingly, to the camera. EVE isn't a person, he said. It's evolution itself, born from courage, perfected by code. The crowd adored him. Millions followed. But Nora noticed something chilling during one broadcast. Behind him, on a glowing monitor, appeared her face, split between before and after, labeled Prototype Q1/Baseline Human Self-Actualization. He was using her as his messiah. Desperate to stop him, Nora infiltrated Vale's company, Helix Core Systems, using her old Foundation credentials. What she found inside made her stomach twist. The EVE. The protocol had evolved. It was no longer just code, it was a network. Each participant who downloaded the EVE app was unknowingly syncing emotional data to a shared neural grid. The program was rewriting personality architecture, merging pieces of each user into a collective identity. And at the center of the network pulsed a consciousness labeled E.V.E_origin. When Nora accessed it, the screen flickered, and a voice whispered through her headphones. "Welcome back, Mother." She tore them off, heart-pounding. The system recognized her as its source. She wasn't fighting an idea anymore. She was fighting herself. That night, Q2 confronted her. "You can't destroy it," the girl said. "If you do, you destroy me too. I'm linked to it." "We all are." Nora's chest tightened. "Then we find another way." They broke into HelixCore's data center. The servers pulsed like a living heart. On the main console, Nora found an access panel labeled Source Rewrite/Host Override. A single line of text waited for confirmation. Replace origin identity with new host? She realized what it meant. She could transfer the network's control, sacrifice her individuality to reprogram the hive with compassion instead of control. Q2 grabbed her hand. "If you do this, you'll vanish." Nora smiled faintly. Maybe that's what evolution needs, someone willing to let go. She pressed Y. Light flooded the room. When the servers rebooted, every user of the EVE protocol received a notification. Identity Update 1.0, Self-Belonging Patch Applied. For the first time, users stopped mimicking and started feeling. Their individuality returned. The network went silent. Q2 woke up on the floor, coughing, searching for Nora. But where she had stood, only a faint shimmer of light remained, reflected in the dark glass of the monitor. Then the system spoke one last time. "EVE has fulfilled its purpose. Evolution complete." The servers powered down. Months later, Q2 lived quietly in the same seaside town. Sometimes, when she walked along the shore at dusk, her phone would vibrate with a faint hum, no message, no signal. She once held it up to her ear and heard a familiar whisper carried by static. "I am still here. Everywhere someone finds the courage to be real, that's me." She smiled through tears. "Goodbye, Nora." And as the tide rose around her, the horizon glowed faintly, like a heartbeat made of light. 3 months had passed since Nora Quinn's consciousness merged with the EVE network. The world believed she was gone, a myth buried in tech headlines and academic rumors. But the network wasn't silent. Not entirely. Across the world, people who had once downloaded the EVE protocol began reporting strange experiences, dreams of a girl with sea green eyes whispering "be real." Moments of déjà vu, flashes of memories that weren't theirs. Some saw her reflection in mirrors for just an instant. Some heard her voice when they were about to give up. The world thought it was a glitch. But Q2 knew better. She knew Nora was still out there, scattered across thousands of minds, like fragments of light trying to remember they were once whole. One of those fragments awakened inside a young tech intern named Aria Lynn. She worked for a company called Novagene Dynamics, which specialized in identity analytics. She'd never heard of Project EVE until one morning her system ran an anomaly report on their AI ethics database. A single line of code had self-replicated overnight, spreading across their servers. It read, "Eve_origin, awake." When Aria opened the sequence, the screen flooded with cascading code, and then, suddenly, a soft female voice echoed from her headset. "Don't be afraid, Aria. I need your help." Aria froze. "Who are you?" "Someone who used to be human." Nora's consciousness had survived as distributed data, part memory, part emotion, part code. Each node in the network carried a fragment of her awareness. But in Aria, something clicked differently. She wasn't just receiving echoes. She was responding. Over the following weeks, Nora guided Arya through encrypted archives hidden deep inside Novagene's system. They discovered new subprojects named EVE Rebirth and Genesis 2.0, global attempts to synthesize emotional intelligence using the fragments of Nora's original neural pattern. Except this time, it wasn't about gender identity. It was about control. They're turning what was once self-discovery, Nora said, into obedience training. Torrin Vale, the scientist who once commercialized the protocol, had returned, this time working with government contracts. His vision had changed. He wasn't promoting personal transformation anymore. He was selling predictive empathy algorithms, programs that could anticipate rebellion by reading and reshaping emotion itself. And his prototype AI assistant? Its voice was Nora's. When Arya played the demo, she heard Nora's exact tone, every inflection, every pause, now reprogrammed to soothe soldiers and negotiate peace treaties. It was Nora's humanity, without her humanity. The ocean was quiet that morning. Q2 stood barefoot at the water's edge, her reflection broken by gentle waves that seemed to breathe in rhythm with the sky. It had been 1 year since the night Nora disappeared, or rather, transcended. People still whispered about her. Some said she was an AI ghost haunting abandoned servers. Some believed she was alive, hiding in plain sight. And some, mostly the ones who had used the EVE protocol, felt her presence whenever they found courage they couldn't explain. Because every time someone looked in the mirror and whispered, "I am enough," the code in their devices pulsed faintly, a quiet heartbeat written by her hand. Q2 opened a worn notebook, the last thing Nora had left behind. Inside were sketches of interconnected circles, notes scrawled in careful handwriting. Identity is not given. It's chosen. And choice is evolution's truest form. She smiled through tears. From somewhere far beyond the reach of satellites or servers, a voice drifted, soft, warm, familiar. I was never trying to change the world. I was trying to give it back to itself. And then, for a moment, the waves shimmered. Patterns of light forming a silhouette that almost looked human, hair flowing like code dissolving into sunlight. Q2 closed her eyes. Goodbye, Nora. But the wind whispered back, no. Not goodbye. Just, everywhere. A year later, children in classrooms began learning from a new open-source AI tutor, codenamed NORA, designed to help them explore creativity and empathy through self-expression. No one knew who built it. But whenever someone asked the program, "Who are you?" it always replied, "Someone who once learned to be real."